Before we get started, welcome everyone to our Cosmo Campfire. I usually like to wait a minute or two, just to make sure more folks are added onto our Cosmo Campfire. Um, let's see. We'll take a moment for that. I do also have our poll that we were trying or that we wanted to add newly. So if you can take a second and answer our initial poll, that will help us understand where folks are at with understanding our Cosmo campfires and the specific topics that we have out. So right now we'll be focusing on our create pages on mission control. So you should have a poll, campfire intro poll on your screen. If you could complete that, that would be helpful for me. And it's just listing how long have you been using mission control, whether it's, 6 months or a year or whatnot. That helps me better understand where folks are at on this call. And just so we could better engage and, have more folks that participate as well as we're waiting for folks to get onto our call. Thank you so much for answering. So I'll just wait another 45 seconds for folks to answer that as more folks are getting adding onto this call. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and end our poll in just 10 seconds here. Looks like we have a variety of folks who have been using mission control for, whether it be a couple months or a few years. And it looks like we're about a little bit more than half that have not used the Create Actions feature itself just yet as well. So thank you so much for answering that. That's helpful for me to know. All right. Awesome. That's super helpful. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for our monthly Cosmo Campfire session, where we focus on a particular feature within Mission Control. This month, we'll be taking a look at the Create phase, Create milestone, Create action, and the Create checklist item page features within Mission Control. As we get introduced, just so you know more about myself, my name is Janaya. I'm a customer service representative at Aprica Business Solutions. I've been with the team for about 3 years myself, and I've been in the Salesforce ecosystem for about 4 years as well. So I would be the first person that you would contact if you're trying to reach us for customer support. And as you take a look at our agenda today, in this session, we'll be looking at the various create pages within Mission Control. These pages provide one of the most efficient ways for us to build and update our project work structures as we look at project creation and project structures. Within our objectives on this call, we'll be understanding the various create pages and how to create existing new records, how to create new records or update existing records on these create pages. Furthermore, we'll be able to understand how to customize the create page features on these pages so that you could customize whatever specific fields you want to see and mass update those fields for your records as well. I do have a project work breakdown structure, so it is important to be aware of these notes that I've written down towards the end of the call. We'll be doing something new, and so it'll just be a quick pop-up quiz so that we can better engage and help make sure that customers are retaining the information that we're putting out. So. Just so you're aware, we have our within Mission Control, there's 7 layers for our project structures, right? We have our portfolios being the first at the big level, and then our programs, our projects, our phase, our milestones, our actions, and our checklist items. Obviously, the most, basic project structure is just a project milestone and action, which holds a master detail relationship within these 3 objects. So if you're trying to edit the project start and end date, in order to do that, you have to edit that on the child object, which is on the action. So the project takes the first action start date to make the project start date, and the project takes the last action end date to be the project end date. So if you're trying to edit project start date and project end date, you have to control that from the earliest action and the latest action in your project. So that just shows up that shows the relationship between the roll up of the master detail relationship. So in order for you to create and have any existing, actions and mission control, you first need to have a parent in order to have that action. So all actions have to have a milestone, whereas all milestones have to have a project. So that kind of entails our master detail relationship within mission control. Obviously, we'll be looking at the create pages, and so this we're looking at the focusing on the create phases, the create milestones, the create actions, create checklist items. So these four lower, uh, object records here, and we'll be mass creating that on the project itself. Oh, went a little bit too fast. As we look at it before we go into our demo, I did want to show just how that would look like. And so as we take a look at our create phases, and our create pages, this is visible on the project page. And so if you are on your project page, you'll be able to see all these various lightning buttons on the project page. If you're on the milestone record page itself, you'll be able to see only, you'll be able to only have access to the create actions and create checklist items. Whereas if you are on the action page layout, then you'll only have access to the create checklist item itself. And I'll show you how this all looks like, but if you want to make sure to see all of these feature pages, then you can add that onto the project page layout. The field sets that you can customize them are on the individual object manager, right? On the back end for the phase of the objects themselves, where you can go to the field sets and they're labeled as such on my right-hand side right here. So for the phase field set, it's called the create phase fields. The milestone is called the create milestone field set, and then the action field set is called the create actions fields, so on and so forth. Let me just make sure. Okay. And now we can take a look at our demo. Um, Let me just move that over. Awesome. You should be able to see my sandbox now. Oh, I have my developer org here, my clean org, so we can take a look at how this is all set up. As we take a look in our Mission Control console page, if you are in Mission Control, you can find a Mission Control app through our app launcher. And so you could type in Mission Control from here and just type in Mission Control. Or if you're already on it, then you'll see our Mission Control logo and the console page automatically. I do want you to be aware of our control pad because we'll be coming back here towards the end of the call, and we'll be reviewing the tile called Create Actions page. So if you just go on the control pad tab and you scroll down, you'll see the Create Actions page settings. So this is going to refer to the Create Actions page itself. So we'll be able to add custom fields using for this page using the 5 additional fields available here. So we'll come back here in a moment. As we look at our project itself, we're in our Silver Bricks rental project, and we can go ahead and pull in our lightning buttons through our create phases, create milestones, create action, create checklist items. If you do not see these lightning buttons, then you can add these buttons onto the project page by going to your setup and going to edit object. I already have that pulled up right here. So if you go to edit object from, the icon, edit object, it pulls you to this page, so a new tab, and I'm gonna go to my page layouts, and I can go to my project page layout where I can edit and add those lightning buttons onto my project page. As you can see, our Salesforce mobile and lightning actions are already added, so we have our create phases and whatnot. You can also go to the mobile and lightning action tab, and you can just type in create. That way you can see all those buttons automatically. I've already added them to the page, but let's say that, they're not added just yet. You can drag and drop them down. So I'm just gonna drag and drop them down in this order. So you can see how that looks like. And then I can save that page. If you don't see this just yet, there might be a wrench icon. You might want to click on that wrench tool icon, and this should pop up for this section called the Lightning Mobile actions here. And then you can save that as well. So you want to make sure those create pages are added onto your project page layout. And you can go and do that on your milestone page, your action page as well to make sure you have, those create pages for those different object pages, record pages that you're on. Now that we're back on here, we've already saved that. We see these pages. Obviously, out of the box, the create milestones and create actions have been here for a while, for a few years now already. The create checklist items was added to our last release in 1.78. And then our latest release, 1.79, we updated and added our create phases. So if you don't see those two, it's because they are new features and you could add them to your project pages. With our project structure, right now, all I have out of created is one milestone called Silverbrook's SLA, Service Level Agreement, and I have my admin, design, build, and deliver. You can also break that down and see that I have a couple checklist items to do on my deliver action as well. And so we'll just work our way down. We'll take a look at phases first, create phases, and then so on and so forth, all the way down to look at the various create pages. Once you start looking and working in them regularly, this will allow you to like if this was a brand new project, you're just creating it from scratch, there's nothing here. You can create all this from scratch. The reason why I've had these created right now is just so that you can see existing records. So that way, when you go into them, for example, if you go into your create actions, on the right-hand side, upper corner, you'll see an icon that says display existing actions. So this is going to show you all existing actions already on your project. So you see the create actions page, the top, those to show you what icon it stays consistent, the color, the icon of the actions, green. And then the project is always going to be purple with this icon where it's going to show you, what project you're looking at. So you know what actions these are referring to for this project. The display existing actions are automatically default, but let's say, you don't want to see existing actions. You only want to see all new actions that you're creating in this project. So it's just going to hide those existing actions from view. So that's why I like to show a bit of both. So as we take a look, we'll take a look at our create phases. Let's create some phases on this project, and then we'll also create some more milestones and group that so that you can see how that works. For the create phases, we see this peach icon color for the phase icon. And so we have our create, we know that we're on the create phases as this shows, and we know that we are on this particular project. And so the Silverbrook's rental project, and we can see display existing phases already. Out of the box, the feature pages will always have one default row where it's going to be blank and null, because it's going to think that these pages are always going to think that you're creating new records. So there's always going to be one to start off with, and then you have your out of the box columns for the phase fields, right? So obviously in the phase, you're going to have the phase name, the phase owner, status, phase budget, if you choose to have a specific budget for the phases, and the hours, schedule, billable, or whatnot, or non-billable. If you wanted to add more fields, you can add those fields through the field sets that we'll show later. And then so on and so forth, the various fields, right? And you can add in those phases. So let's say I wanted to just go ahead and, name our phase 1 and 2 and 3. So I can go ahead and name that phase 1. And I'm adding, this is a phase adding lookup. So we're just going to add those down, right? Add those down. But let's say, I want to name it 1, 2, and 3. We already have one here. So I'm just going to name that one 3 in this case, and you can add that by clicking the click icon. This row, this checkbox is a very powerful tool. It is the multi-row selector. And so let's say that I'm going to click this tool to mark all my phases in this project. And I know automatically I'm going to assign all these phases to Janaya already. Maybe they're all going to be on hold for whatever reason or in progress. I'm just going to mark them as status and planned right now. I'm going to give them all a budget of 1,000. Obviously, some phases might have more, but if I wanted to remove that and, edit certain phases with, a higher budget, then those two phases that are marked with a multi-tool selector is going to be selected. So it's going to be, 5,000. See that 5,000, the first row and the second row gets updated automatically because we're still using this multi-tool selector. If we don't want to use that and we want to give this one, let's say 10,000 for the third phase, then we can go ahead and update those values as well. And we see that total accumulation at the bottom value. I'm going to keep using that and I'm just going to keep putting, 200 hours that I know we're going to be working approximately on. And let's say that there's field notes that I want to, add to my field notes within each of these phases. So these are each individual records, right? We have our phase one record, our phase two record, phase three under the project. You can go ahead and make those edits. Right now, I can know I want to turn that off because I know that there's a certain order in my project level structure that I always want to see in my project overview or my Gantt chart. So in my phase one, I know that I can name them one, two, and three like I have over here, but I just like to start off with zero. That's just a personal thing for me. So I'm starting for my Gantt chart. Every time I go onto my Gantt sort order, I get my Gantt chart, I can see that my phase one is always going to be at the top. My phase two is going to be, afterwards. And then, my phase three will follow that. So zero, one, two, three. So it's going to show it in that order that I want to see it in even though this order isn't set up it's not in the order that I want to see it just yet. But on my project itself, this is the order that I want to see it in. And so um, all object those project breakdown work structures will have a Gantt sort order that you can order those individual records in. The milestone sort order is named a little bit different, but the action will have the Gantt sort order as well as the checklist item. And whatnot. We have our exclude from status report and our Gantt collapsed. Let's say that when I'm on my Gantt chart with my project, I know that I want to always have this phase collapse because I don't need to see it. Then you can make sure to have that marked as true so that it collapses the phase so that you don't need to always see all the individual child rec objects and records under that. Then you can mark those as true as well. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. I'm creating these three new phases onto this project. And let's say that there's a custom field on my phase that I want to be able to add because I want to see the different phase types. So automatically we see that that has been saved. It's done or it's in that order that I've set the Gantt sort order in. So, one, two, and three are in order. And let's say I'm going to go ahead and create my milestones under each one of them and group them appropriately, then we can do that in a second as well. I did want to show if we are in our phase object manager to find um, the custom field set, then you can go to the field sets and click on, obviously, just to show you how that looks like, our create phase fields, right? It's going to show all fields displayed on the create phase component, the create phase page. And I want to add in this custom field that I created called phase type. So we know it's a custom field. As you look at all our other ones, it says AMC, pre-commission control, whereas this custom field is a field that I created. And I want to add that to the field set. So let's say I add that to the field set so that when I go onto my create phases here, we see automatically that that phase type has now been added. So I know that I'm gonna, this phase is probably an initiation phase. We have our execution and then our monitoring, phase, or maybe it's a closure phase. So we're just going to name it different phases. So this is a custom pick list field that I created and I wanted to add to this create phases, right? That way you can add and remove certain fields. Maybe you don't need this budget. Maybe you don't need, these two columns or these other columns here. And obviously we have our trash icon so you can delete a phase if needed. So let's say if I added a phase here and it just kept adding, right, for some reason, we can go ahead and remove that, the last column and through the remove column trash icon. And then you also see this new icon that appears. So if you hover over it, it's going to say copy owner from the previous row. So this copy icon is just letting you know that, hey, looks like Janaya was the last uh, phase owner, and maybe you want to copy her down. So maybe I'm going to copy her down. And when you click on that, it just copies down the record from the one right above it, or the row right above it. So if we had these exit, right, it's gonna keep showing up to let us know that, hey, we could keep copying Janaya down. In this sense, I know that I don't need this fourth phase, so I'm just gonna remove that, but I know that I already updated these phase types. So I'm going to go ahead and save that there. That's how you can customize fields on the phase field set. If we are now on our create milestones, we can update those milestones to see what that would look like for our current existing milestone. As you can see, our display existing one. If you wanted to not, remove that and you just want to see brand new milestones, then you can remove that field. We know that we're on the create milestones page, and this just allows us to mass create milestones on your project. So you don't have to go in individually and create every single milestone with a new button, right? Otherwise, you would have to do that with, create a new milestone here. I have to create each and every single one, all the individual fields to create a brand new milestone. Um, or maybe you're creating a new milestone through the project related list. Maybe you're creating the new phases here, the new milestones here. So this is just more manual, just more laborious. Whereas the create milestone gives you accessibility to mass create those milestones and records, whether it's all in one place for you already. And that way you can see existing ones as well. So we see our existing one. I'm just going to show, I know that I need another, we have our added rows here. I know that I need another two more rows, let's say, then it's going to add in those number of rows. Let's say you know that you're always going to need 7 milestones. So you can type in that number, add that row there. You can also, create, in this case, let's just say that I'm going to create this one, right? I'm going to name it number 2, and I can add that towards the bottom. Then you can make sure to do that as well, or you could just fill it in here. So there's various ways on how you want to add that, but I'm just going to name that number 3, and I'm going to go ahead and remove this these empty rows here. So if you see, you can scroll to the right. These are all of our out of the box fields that will be included in our create milestone page. So all these fields here are all, out of the box. If you wanted to remove them, you can, but they're going to be added there for you. You see that as you scroll to the right, these two columns, milestone name and milestone owner, are always going to be defaulted. So these are the two fields that you cannot remove from this page. Um, but you can add it and edit custom more fields on the milestone page itself. If we know that, this is already in progress, but, we're going to go ahead and add in Janaya for the other ones. So the create milestone was one of the original page features. And so it doesn't have that multi-line order or multi line selector checkbox that we see in the other page features. That is added onto our roadmap so that will be added in the future. But right now, the create milestones page is just a little bit more plain and broken down so that you can manually create them by itself. Let's say that there's a budget that you want to create for each of these, and you can input that budget here as well. You have our milestone billing types, and so this billing type is really just for billing. And let's say that the milestone billing type is referring to the project billing type for controlled on the milestone. So if you have a project that has a controlled on the milestone billing type, this is just letting you know that I want to bill my projects per milestone and not per project, but each milestone I'm going to bill it once it gets completed, let's say, or I'm going to bill them at a fixed price for this project milestone, the SLA1. For this second milestone, I'm going to bill it, fixed price plus expenses, and so on and so forth. This third milestone, I'm going to bill it for time and materials. So it's going to be billed at various milestones. That's for the controlled on the milestone billing type, project billing type, right? So you don't have to worry about these billing fields all too much, but if you're wanting to depict those values, then you can do so there. These milestone deadline is referring to the specific deadline that you know that there's going to be, right? So if there's a specific deadline that you always want to see on your Gantt chart or you have saved on your individual milestone records, then you can depict them knowing that, just so that your team is aware, this is a major deadline for this, you know. sprint or milestone, and this is the deadline that we need to all be aware of. So this is not the milestone start date, end date. This is just a different field in itself, a date field. And you can name them, you can name each of these fields. And so when you're on your Gantt chart, you can see these dates and you can see what it's named after. So you couldn't just name it, SLA1, deadline, and so on and so forth as well. Our milestone sort order, similar to the Gantt sort order, this is just telling you what order you want to see them in when you're in your Gantt chart or your project overview page. I know that, I'm just going to name it 1, 0, 1, and 2, and, 3, and so on and so forth if you have more milestones. Invoice, these are just individual fields now that are controlled on the milestone page itself for milestone billing. So milestone billing is a little bit different, which you can create a billing and generate a billing invoice once you mark the milestone as complete. You can look more into that in our knowledge base articles on how to set that up, but let's just say, I do want to invoice once this milestone gets completed, then you can mark that as true. And you can set that for, since we know that this one is fixed price, let's say that there's, a 5,000, a $1,000 invoice that will be generated once this mark is complete. And then our milestone notes, you could put those notes in here, so on and so forth, as well. And these are just little, obviously all our milestone fields that you can add on here. The other, I wanted to show you how you could add a field, a custom field onto this page so that we can group them into a phase. So right now we can save it. Yeah, so it's telling us, this error is telling us that, hey, we need to, if you want a milestone billing type, the project has to be controlled on the milestone for the project billing type. In this case, it's not controlled on the billing type, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. But you can remove that, billing type and save that then. Because right now, if you look at your project billing type, right? Right now, my billing type is set to fixed price. If I wanted to edit that to make it the billing type controlled on the milestone, then that's what that's referring to. Right now, I can make sure to go to my milestone object manager, and that way we can add in our phase lookup field into the milestone create actions page. So if we go to our milestones, we can go to our field sets. Now we can control our create milestone fields. And this is going to just show you where you can edit the field set for the create milestone button or page. These are all the fields out of the box, right? But if I wanted to remove them, you could just remove them on this icon. If you wanted to make certain fields required, then you can make them required. Right now, I know that there's other fields that are not on this page that I want to drag and drop, right? Specifically the phase. That way I can group the parent phase onto my create milestones, and you can go back here. And now I want to group my phases under the appropriate parent phase. So I created those phases already. I know that, SLA1 is going to go with phase 1, SLA2 is going to go with phase 2, and so on and so forth. It doesn't have to be this, rigid, but I'm just doing it so you know how to create and inline edit these individual records. So I have my parent object for each of these milestones. And once we click save, now it's going to be grouped. And then when we scroll down to the project overview, we can see the work breakdown structure here. And let's just collapse that so we can look at the phases and milestones. So if you collapse that, we can see all my phases are, in my project. I see my 3 phases and I see my individual milestones for each one, right? My phase 2 under phase 2, my milestone 3 under phase 3. So now that's been created. If I wanted to expand it all and see how everything looks and see the checklist items underneath them, then I can open that up as well. So that looks good. We've created our milestones. We've created our phases as well. And now we're going to go ahead and edit and create those actions. Now you can go ahead and create those actions for each of those milestones. I've disabled it the existing actions, but let's say you wanted to see existing actions. This is going to pull up all those actions in your project already. So as we take a look at this page from top down more thoroughly, we see our create actions at the top right left-hand corner, create actions page, and our project itself. Let's say that we're just going to go look at a different project. You can do that on the create actions page. You can't do that on the other pages, but we're going to stick with this, Silverbrook's Rental project, and you can click go so that it refreshes the page to pull in the appropriate actions. We have our default, this row number 5 is our default where it's going to default where it thinks you're creating a new one. So let's say you're going to click save, right? Automatically, we're going to see these errors. And it's going to show you automatically that, hey, you need to complete this field in order for this page to save. So just being aware that when you're on these pages, you want to make sure that this default is always going to be here. So you want to scroll to the right and just remove that one in itself. Because we're just right now, I just want to look at my 4 existing actions, right? So you can scroll to the right and remove that. And if you scroll back, we're going to see, as we can see, these 2 rows, columns, I mean, milestone and required. See how they're marked asterisk marked required. These cannot be removed from the create actions page. They'll always be here because of the master detail relationship. Every action has to have a parent. And so we know we need to have a milestone and we know we need an action name just because if you're going to have an action, there needs to be a name to it at least, right? So you can add that, maybe you want to create a new record and create a new action at the bottom and it's going to pop it down beneath that, number 5. Um, and maybe you want to assign it to a different uh, milestone. You can do so there as well. And we see our columns. So obviously we see our row IDs from 1 to 5. If we know that we're going to add in 2 more rows, we can add in those rows as well. Um, then we can add in those rows by the number that we depicted here and click add row. I'm just going to remove those so it's more succinct in our views. And we have our multi line editing as well, where we can click the multi row selector where we can, mass edit all records, right? So you want to be very careful when using this, but we'll see that in just a second. We know that there's milestone parents, we're good. We know that there's action names, we're good there. We know that some are in progress, whereas others are are planned. Let's say we wanted to edit them, you can click on them. Obviously, we have our out of the box. These are all out of the box fields on the action itself, but you wanted to remove them. You obviously just want to go to the action object manager and customize those fields on that field set. And I'll show you how that looks like as well. Before we start editing, we see obviously our hours billable. We know that there's this many hours on this first milestone, right? We have 10 hours, 20 hours here, and so on and so forth. We have our dates. Um, we have our start and end dates, the working days in between that. We see automatically that this action here, it won't allow us to edit. And that's because I've enabled the control pad setting for this on the control pad project automation tile setting. So this is just telling me that I have checklist items in this action and I can't edit the dates because the dates are actually controlled on the child object, which is a checklist item. And if you see this here, you want to edit those dates, you can go to the checklist item manager. This icon here looks like a little check mark and checklist items. And I know that I have my 2 checklist items assigned to myself. I need to call the customer, I need to confirm the build, and the dates are controlled here for these checklist item dates, but it rolls up to the parent, right? So it takes the March 3rd and it takes the latest checklist item April 10th. So you see those, the latest checklist, the earliest date, start date, and the latest checklist item end date, the 17th. So let's say I wanted to edit that. You can go ahead and edit that date. Let's say we know that's going to fall, it's going to get pushed out or however that's going to look like. Then you can go ahead and edit that pencil icon. And once you've done those edits and you can edit those fields or then you can mark the check marks to save it. I believe I didn't save that, so that's why I didn't mark, but let's mark that. And now that date is going to update to April 30th. And so then you can edit that through, these icons, the pencil icon. This eye icon is just showing the checklist item record itself. So if there's other things that, you want to edit that isn't on this short view, you can edit on this checklist item, summary page layout here. The trash icon, if you wanted to delete it, obviously the issue manager. Let's say that we know that there might be an issue that's tied to this checklist item. I can create that issue and just say, customer is upset at the timeline for this project. And let's say I created that issue. This issue is now marked and tied to this checklist item for cost customer. And we can, this has been marked, has been added by clicking the plus icon. And then, you can see those and edit more of that information if needed. And you can assign it to an owner as well. If we exit out of that, you'll see that this issue manager is now yellow to let you know that there's an issue on this checklist item, just so that you're aware. So that is the checklist item manager. We also see on the create actions page, there is a blue icon, and this is referring to, if you hover over it, you'll see that this is referring to the resource assignment wizard. If we go ahead and go into our resource assignment wizard, this is just adding contributors onto our actions. So I know that I am the main action owner, that I am in charge of this action. However, there's 10 hours assigned, and I know that I want to assign Jimin and Lexi as contributors to help me with this action. Then this is just an admin action, but whether it's, build or deliver, I know that they're also taking time to work on this as well. And I can customize the hours that they'll be working along with me, or I can keep it as 0, however that looks like. I can add in those skills that maybe I'm looking for a particular set of an contributor to help me with that. Then that will help me as well. So I'm blocking those down. Potential resources that can help, if you filter that down, then that will get pulled into this view. For now, I know that all my contributors are here, so I can just pull that view. And then once you click save, you'll be removed, go back to this page. And this icon next to the resource assignments wizard is going to tell you that, hey, you can copy the contributors from this previous row up here. So every new contributor that you have up here, you can copy that down to the following action row below it. So right now, I know that I've already done so. So I know that Lexi and Jimin have already been copied down. But right now, I don't have any contributors on. So this is just alerting us that we need more action information before we can copy that information down. So let's say I want to copy those 2 contributors onto my 5th action here, then I can do so as well. I'm going to go ahead and just schedule 20 hours, and I know my action. Let's see, my dates on this might be the 15th, the 18th until the 31st. And I'm just going to name that for myself as well. So when you copy that contributor from up above down, you can click on this action instead of having to go into them individually. Please be aware that when you are clicking on that copy contributor down, it is going to zero out those hours. This is expected just because each action is going to look differently. All the hours assigned for each action is going to be different. So I know that, it's going to be zeroed out, but that way, if you know that there's specific hours you're giving them, like I'm going to give them both 4 hours here, and it's going to take away from the 20 so that I get the remainder hours. That is expected behavior. So just so you're aware of that. So when you copy it down, it is only copying the contributor records. It's not copying the hours scheduled. So now that that has been saved, my 4 and 4 hours, we're good to go. And I have my dependency. Maybe some of these dependencies are dependent upon one another. Like maybe my build, maybe the dependency that you created, like the build can only be created after the design has been finished, so on and so forth. But you see more of these dependencies on the Gantt chart. And And maybe there's an action type that maybe you're trying to edit them all a specific action type, and then so on and so forth with other with other action fields that you might find useful. So, maybe there's notes that you want to save. I've clicked the inline edit, so that deleted it all for all action notes for all five of these actions, obviously. Obviously, if you click non-billable, it's going to mark them all as non-billable because I've selected them all. If I remove two, three, and four, right? Obviously, you see that three and four have been deselected, and so now one, two, and five are the only ones selected in this case. If I move it back, then I can move them, I'm selecting and selecting them all in that case. And so on and so forth. That's if they're all non-billable. I know that they're all billable, so I'm not going to do that. And it just goes on and so forth for all our action fields. So the daily digest, the project status report, and the billable capacity, if you're looking at the role utilization report, you can edit specific timeline, time dates if you're looking at your actions on your calendar converter. If you're looking at different fields and you want these actions to be excluded from any of these other feature pages, then you can exclude them as well. You can obviously you have our remove column as well at the bottom at the end here. So for now, I know that my actions are good. I've mass updated them. I've created a new one action here. Um, we're good to go, so I can go ahead and save that here. And this is just reminding me for the checklist item dates, right? You're unable to schedule actions due to the checklist item dates, so the deliver date. So let's take a look at that date. Just gonna make sure that's gets saved. And that should update to the April 30th. But let's just go back and if we there we go. If we just refresh that page now, that 30th, it gets updated, and now we can save that create page for the new updated checklist item end date. So as that gets saved for us, the way that we can edit and customize fields on the create actions page is by going to the object manager and going to the action, making sure you're on the AMC action, mission control, right? And when you're on mission control, you can go to your field sets and find the create action fields right here. And this is used on the create actions page. You want to click on the create actions page here, and you can drag and drop those custom fields. Right now, I know that there's a custom field that I created. It's called action. I believe it's called action is mandatory. This is just a checkbox that I created. It's a custom field. And I'm just letting myself know that, hey, there's certain actions that are always mandatory on a project. Let's say, and I'm just bringing that down so that we can see that. Um, I want to see the action owner. Oh, owner email. I do want to see action notes. I will pull that down. There are some start and end dates. The action owner, I believe, is already on there, but let's see. I want to see start date, end date. I want to see the can't sort order. I find that helpful for myself. I want to see the hours scheduled, billable, non-billable. So anything you're putting in here, just be aware because it is resetting the out of the box fields and it's now using these fields going forward, right? So I'm gonna add the hours scheduled billable, hours scheduled non-billable. Is there any other fields I want to see? For now, we'll just keep it with this view. So we have a custom field that I created called action is mandatory. Maybe, whatever fields for those. Actually, I want to draw this one down here. I also want to see status. That was my other one. We have our custom status and our standard status. I know I'm using standard statuses, so this looks good. And I'm going to go ahead and save that on my field set. Now you're not finished yet. Once you've done that, you've saved that. When you go back onto your create page, that has not been um, those fields will not be apparent just yet. And so this is taking a little bit, but you want to make sure to go to your control pad, your console page. And when you're on your console page, now you can add in that custom field that you created, right? So that custom field is called action is mandatory. That's a custom field. You can add up to 5 additional custom fields onto this create actions page. And then you want to make sure to override the fields using this action. So you're going to use these custom fields and override it, override the field set here, right? So you're going to override the out of the box field sets that was given, and you're going to click this checkbox on the create actions page settings tile, and you're going to save that. Once you've saved that, then when you go onto your create actions page, now you will see those custom fields. Now this page had some issues. Looks like the page itself was loading a bit, so it didn't fully save the fifth action. But if we refresh and click on the create actions page again, you'll see that those new fields like action is mandatory, status, start and date, the fields that I selected that I wanted to see are now on this field set, right? So I know that these actions are always going to be mandatory because the admin is just, it's not mandatory, but these other actions are mandatory. So I've marked those. If you wanted to get rid of this dependency field, you would just go ahead and hide dependency field column from here. And then now you can refresh that page. I think I just have to refresh it completely. There we go. Now that dependency column is now removed, and I can go ahead and mass update any other fields that I want to see. So we should know that that date did update. So that date did take, and let's just say that um, we did add that test back in. It's going to go under a different milestone. It's still planned. I'm going to save that information. The can't store order won't matter too much because it's the only action under the second milestone. So I can leave that as null. Maybe you want to add some notes. You can click save there. And you can just keep scrolling where I know that it's going to be about 20 hours for this action here. And now I can save these actions. And if we scroll down on the project overview, we can see those actions that are already there, the existing actions, but we can also see that new action that was created, right? So we have that existing action on my second phase, second milestone here. And so, yeah, if you want to break it down, then you can see that more clearly as well. So now we've looked at create phase, create actions, create milestones. We can look at create checklist items. So if we are on our create checklist items from here and we've customized those field sets already, the create checklist item is helpful because then you can mass create those checklist items and group them to a different milestone. So let's say this checklist item called confirm build. Hey, we actually know that should actually go to a different milestone. Like the in this case, I want it to go to the it was originally the deliver, but let's say I want it to be grouped to a different parent, then I can group this checklist item to a different parent now. Um, for myself, I know I need to confirm, um, I know I need to obtain the SOW from the customer. So I can type that in and click that down, add that in to the bottom. Now I can obtain that and I can assign that for maybe for my admin itself. And I can add those in. You can also use a multi-line order if you need to be. I'm just gonna, edit those dates. Maybe there's non-billable work that I need to put in time for as well. So I'm selecting that select row selector, multi-line editing, where that's going to select all of those rows for me, and there's dates that I want to be aware of. In this case, regarding the dates. I know these dates are going to look a little bit different. So I have a role unavailable, so that role in itself, it's just reminding me that, hey, somebody's going to be out, right? So, um, so you might want to change those dates. Start date, end date, checklist items, so on and so forth. You get the gist of that. So if I did wanted to edit, call customer, then those field notes will be automatically updated for all action notes, so on and so forth. So I've added those in, I've obtained that, and now I can go ahead and save my checklist items. And we can see this on our overview page. If you scroll down, that checklist item was grouped to the deliver. The confirm build was moved down here, moved up to the build milestone, the build action up here now. So that one that got reparented to a different action. And we now see an obtain SOW checklist item for this admin as well. If you wanted to collapse it to just make it more, you know, you see our phases in peach here, you see our blue milestones, and then you see our green actions. If you wanted to open them individually to see the individual checklist items, then you can click on this arrow here to look at them as well. So now we've gone ahead and created our phases, milestones, and checklist items. Obviously, with our checklist item, you can do the same here and click and customize those fields on this field set here called create checklist item um, fields, right? So you see that right here. It's visible up here, oh, visible here. So you can click into here and edit those field sets to customize that as well. Uh, we've gone ahead and mass created records using the create page functions. We've mass and updated fields using the create page functions, and we've customized fields using, the create using the create pages as well. So as we've gone ahead and done that, I did want to let you know that maybe you have some projects that are very big. Maybe some milestones have like 300 or 400 actions, let's say, depending on, each customer and each project, right? So maybe some actions, like maybe the second phase has like 400 actions. When you go into your create actions, there is a limit. So there will be a limit of a maximum of 200 records that get created on this create actions page. That is the same for the maximum limit is 200 for the create phases, create actions, create checklist items. And so if you know that, you have multiple, each of these milestones will have numerous actions underneath them, you can go into your individual milestones, and you can pinpoint the actions that you want to work on. So you can find the create actions on the milestone, right? It's because you want to look at the child records under this milestone. So you can't use the create milestone on the milestone itself. You can only create it on the child records under the parent. So you can add the create checklist item and the create actions onto the milestone page. In this scenario, I've had the create actions, and now I'm just looking at only the actions under this milestone parent, which is SLA2. So there's only one in this scenario, right? So it's only going to pull up those limited number of child actions under the parent milestone, which is SLA2. Obviously, we see our default is going to get auto-populated, but just so that you see how that works, and that we can mass update per milestone as well, um, and so on and so forth. Um, the milestone itself, the create milestone, only has a limit of 100. So you can only see a maximum number of 100 records on the create milestones, whereas the other ones will have a maximum of 200 records. That's just the default setting that we have right now. Obviously, there'll be more on our roadmap to update the create milestones. But for now, that is what it looks like. Um, and now we are good to go for our product. I want to give some space, and if you guys have any questions, let's go through them and answer them as well. So if you have any Q&A, if you have any questions on this call, please feel free to chat, enter them in the Q&A for me to take a look. If you don't have any questions, then what I would love to do is move on to our um, quick quiz and poll. So this will be a quick 10-question quiz. Um, and this will just help us, better get an understanding of of what you retained on our call, and that we can answer any questions that you might have going forward as well. So I'm going to add that right here. Let me just go ahead and create our quiz for us. One second. You should see our quizzes available right here. Um, you should see a 10-question quiz come up on your screen, and you can answer those 10 questions. Whoever answers it first will get Mission Control swag, and then we'll make sure to send our product team will make sure to reach out to you to send out some swag your way if you get these 10 questions correct and are the first to submit them. So I'm just going to leave some time for you to answer this in the next uh, 3 minutes here, and then I'll make sure to end this quiz after the 3 minutes. So feel free to go through the quizzes and answer the questions on your pop-up page. If you don't see the quiz pop up at all, please let me know. It should be on your Zoom page here, and you can answer those quiz questions. And if you're in our call right now, we are working through our session evaluation. So we have our 10-question quiz pop up right now that folks are going through. You can answer the pop-up quizzes on our call. There should be questions available. It starts off with, did you find this session useful? What does the create page feature do exactly? And where can you customize these create pages? So if you can answer these questions, and we'll make sure to reach out to the winner. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes just to fill those out, and then that way we'll reach out to the winner by email to get your name, address, and email so that we can send you Mission Control swag your way for our product team, from our product team. So yeah, just take a couple more minutes to answer the 10-question quiz. If you have any questions, just feel free to let me know. We can work through that together as well. Awesome. We have one person who submitted already. Awesome. We have some more folks submitting their quizzes. I'll just take one more minute and then we'll wrap up this quiz to end the poll. Awesome. So now I think we've have everyone participated. So I see 100% participation from the remaining um, attendees on this call. Thank you so much for entering into our short quiz out at the end of our Cosmo Campfire. Hope that was helpful. And just so that you see, I'm just going to go back a couple pages. We do have our work breakdown structure. We have our portfolios to start us off, our program, project, phase, milestone, action, and then checklist items. And then secondly, if you're on the project page, you can access all 4 create pages. If you're on the milestone page, however, you will only be able you only have availability to see these 2 lightning buttons, the create actions and create checklist on the milestone page. So that was one of the questions there. And obviously the field sets are tied to the field set name that we have listed as well. So we should be good to go. Thank you so much for answering our quizzes here. I'll take a look at these in a moment. Um, so that was super helpful. If you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. We can go through them as well. Let's see. Obviously, the create page feature allows you to mass update and create new records along with display existing records and update existing records as well. Mass update existing records. Where can you customize the create pages? You can customize them on the object field set. So if you enter that incorrectly, it is on the field set that gets control that the create page feature gets controlled. The page layout is just adding the button to the page layout so you have access to it, but you're customizing the create page itself. It's controlled on the object field set. Where can you use the create page for? What can you use it for? Like I said, you could create new records, you can update existing records and display existing records. So these should be those three. Where can you access all create page lightning buttons? You guys are correct. You can access it from the project record page and the order, and we've shown that already, the order from portfolio all the way to checklist items. Where can you customize each create page? You can customize it per object field set, and so you selected those field sets appropriately. What is the maximum number of actions that will appear on the create actions page? And you stated correctly, it is 200. The maximum number of action records on the create actions page is 200. Now, if you have more actions, then you can go to the other milestone or the other pages to go break them down and edit those from there, or you can create a custom action list view or a Salesforce action report and customize those actions from there as well. Which action create actions are accessible from the milestone? You can create the from the milestone itself, from that table, you see that it is accessible if you're on the milestone. The create actions, create checklist items are accessible from the milestone page. And then admins can add the create pages through the page layouts. So you can add these page features, lightning buttons to the pages through the page layouts. Awesome. Thank you so much for participating. I will reach out to, I will review these just a little bit further and reach out to folks you'll get an email from us to get more of your information, your contact information, so that we can send out some swag your way. There is one last, if you have a second left, there is one last poll I do want to just make sure to ask. We have our closing poll, so it just helps us to better understand, what do you want to see for our next Cosmo campfires? If you have a particular feature that you would like to look at, please let us know. You can submit that our way. So if you are thinking that, maybe you want to look more at, maybe you were looking at the resource assignment wizard earlier and you still want to go further in depth on how to use a resource assignment wizard, or maybe there's certain the checklist item manager or other features that you saw on as we were going through our call today that it would be helpful to find various ways that you could create list views or other things that we can look at, then you can enter in your suggestions on what we should cover on our next Cosmo campfires. So you could submit those our way. I'm just going to give you guys 30 more seconds to submit that, and then I'll end that poll, and then we'll end our call. Thank you so much for joining me in our Cosmo Campfire. It was a blast. Thank you for participating. I love seeing people's results and what people have, what they've learned, and what they might have remaining questions on. So that's super helpful as well. Awesome. I'll just give 15 more seconds for folks to answer that. Thank you so much for answering there. Super appreciate that. Helps us to give a better understanding of what folks want to see for our next Cosmo campfires for each month. Awesome. Well, I'll end that poll. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. And we'll be here. Oh, that was our pop quiz. The best way to reach us, obviously, is at support@preca.com. That's our first way to get in contact with us, myself, and my Australia team, so Pradnya and Tulsi as well. If you have more questions on how this all works, this is all explained in our knowledge base articles, our user guides, our training videos as well. So these are just more resources that you can refer to. And thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate this. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you.